what you hear sitting at your home country. I think there's struggle everywhere. I think great work-life balance. I would say housing crisis is a major. Everything is very subsidized.
How easy is it to find a part-time job? Today I'm going to be covering a very interesting and a very special destination for international students. If you guessed it right, it is Ireland. I'm going to be joined by a very special friend of mine. Her name is Neha Chandra, and she's going to talk about her experience as an international student in Ireland. So, talking a bit about her, she is passionate about improving healthcare communications, and what she does best is doing stakeholder engagements, research, doing podcasts, and also she excels in strategic communications as a whole. So, among many of her noteworthy achievements, I would like to point out that she has won the PR Moment 30 Under 30 in 2022, and also she is the International Students Ambassador with Educations in Ireland. So I find out who else to talk about the experiences of an international student in Ireland. She's going to talk about what hurdles she faced, how to find part-time jobs, what to find, where to find accommodations, and everything in detail. So let's welcome Neha to this episode. Thank you so much for joining. So to begin with, I would ask you what is your academic background, so that my viewers get an idea about who you are as a person and what
Mhm.
your academic qualifications are.
So I started with journalism after school. This was from Delhi University. And while I was studying journalism, I came across this particular segment called public relations. And it was quite a lot, it was very interesting, something I was hearing of for the first time. And then I got a chance to intern with one of the renowned public relations companies across the world. It's BCW. Burson Cohen Wolf, and within that, I got a chance to work in the healthcare sector. So I was always passionate about the healthcare sector, but I didn't really know how I can sort of, bring together my communication expertise and the healthcare knowledge together. And healthcare public relations just allowed me to sort of, foray into that space, understand that space. I got a chance to work with hospitals, with the pharmaceutical companies like Abbott, so different clients. And it was a great experience working there. And then I decided to do my master's in public relations and corporate communications. This was from Xavier's in Bombay. And again, a great opportunity to get a little bit more understanding from academic perspective. But the course was also very practical. So, we got a chance to learn from industry professionals. And soon after, I started working in the industry with the same company, BCW. And for like 5 to 6 years, I was working when I realized that I really want to go back to academics. And I started doing my research on what could be the next best thing to explore. And my another thought process was that I want to go outside of India to get some more global exposure because I believe healthcare public relations is a very big field, and it is a big field in India, but even more so outside. And that's when I came across certain countries. So there was Ireland, there was UK, and that's where this course, which is a very niche course, MSc in Science and Health Communication, it's a very niche course. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's an amalgamation of science, scientific facts, and communication and journalism. So the people in my course come from different backgrounds. They come from journalism, they come from people who work in the lab, from the medical field, and the people who come from the medical field want to understand how to communicate science, and the people from the communication field want to understand how to learn about scientific facts better. So that's when I decided to pursue this course. And I'm currently working on my master's thesis, which is the end of this 1 year of course in Dublin. And yeah, it has been quite an exciting journey.
Wow, that's so wonderful to hear. You've kindly summarized everything that you have experienced in the past years. So, what one question that comes to my mind is, what do you think both the sides are hard? Like, if it is a healthcare professional who wants to communicate, and you are coming from a communication background, you want to learn about science. Both the things look very hard to me. So, what is your experience?
Yeah, so it is actually a very tricky and a sensitive field because, and we especially understand that after COVID, the importance of communicating science is more than science itself. And people who are scientists, people who are from the medical field, they know when they're studying in the field what it's about, but also it's important to convey that better. So in the whole process of conveying, I think what we had as part of our course in Dublin, our Dublin University, was the professors were both journalists and they were also people from the scientific background. So they were always trying to get both sides together, both perspectives together. And we had courses like data communication, where they taught us how to interpret complex data, that scientific facts for people who are not from the medical background. So people who are reading the newspapers or journals which talk generic news. And then we also had journalist perspective. So teachers coming in, professors coming to us with sharing with the medical people how it's all about communicating the right way. So it's always trying to sort of meet somewhere in the middle. And the people from the communication field always try to really understand that how do we really break down those complex scientific figures for people in the media to read, for people who are not from this background. So yeah, it is quite a tricky space, and I think that's why our class was barely 15 to 20 people who at this point understood that we need such a course. And I sort of really hope that with the years as we go by, we get more people enrolling in this course, more people from both the medical and the communication background, to understand that how important it is to convey, not just as important as science and discoveries are.
It looks like a very interesting course to me. So my next question is like, what do you think would be the post-course opportunities within Ireland as well as outside of Ireland as a whole in the world?
People who do this kind of a course, they basically can get into journalism, they can get into healthcare journalism. So you can write for health journals, medical journals, and you can also work with public relation firms, which cater to clients such as pharmaceutical companies. Like you have Abbott, you have Johnson and Johnson, you have different companies that require a communication arm, a communication officer who will break down complex information to be put up on their digital assets, on their social media assets, or even newspapers for that matter. A lot of communication material goes out from the company's end, and that's exactly what somebody who graduates from this course can look into pursuing. So these are the fields that they can be a part of. They can also join public relation firms where they service multiple clients. So we have companies, we have agencies like Hanover Communications in the UK. We have a lot of other companies that deal with this arm, and they have a lot of healthcare clients. So this is primarily a course which, if people pursue this course, they can look at these kind of opportunities.
So is it available? Is it offered by any other universities around the world?
Yeah, so it's also offered in the UK. University of Manchester has this course, the exact same course. And so these are the two countries that offer the course in English language. Because I was someone who wanted to pursue it in English language. This is what my research was limited to. But I believe there are courses such as public health, masters in public health, or different facets of healthcare that are there across the world in European countries as well. But I'm not sure if this exact course of health communication is there in other countries as well. I think
Yeah.
during my research, I also came across courses like MSc in science communication. So that's only limited to science and not healthcare. I believe UK and Ireland are the two countries that English speaking countries that dominantly have this course.
Oh yeah, that's a perfect mix, like the science and the
Yeah.
communication and also English language. So
Yeah.
those were your one of the primary criterias of choosing Ireland, like the course as well as that it is offered in English language. So were there
Yeah.
any other criterias that you were looking for, and that's the particular reason why you chose Ireland?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you do your research, and it's very important for people to understand that you're not just going there to study, you will possibly want to look at work opportunity. So one of the things you really need to research is the job market. And Ireland is very well known for their tech and their healthcare sector. So it's really important you know the job market you're going into, the possible opportunities. It's also important to connect, make those LinkedIn connections. LinkedIn is a really important tool. So it's important to talk to people who are studying there, who are working in that industry in Ireland, in Dublin, to know that is this something which is viable for you, not just in from academic perspective, but also once you graduate. And so my options were between UK and Ireland, and I had to compare a lot of things, which was the course structure. I also got a chance to speak with a lot of professors from both the countries to understand that do our synergies match, and do they also think that am I the right fit for this course? Because it's also important that you like the course, but also whether the professors feel that is this something right for you or not. And I also looked at the financial aspects, and definitely Ireland market is more conducive when it comes to courses like these. So that was also a factor. And of course, on other factors would be that I did have some more relatives, familiar faces outside of India in Ireland. So I just felt more comfortable going there. So yeah, these are few factors. I think financial aspect of the course, job market, and also how much feasible it is for you to go into that country.
Yeah, I like how you have done your research. And also, one thing that I would like to emphasize for my viewers as well is that most of the times people just try to choose the course and also look at the country and just go for it. But in your
Yeah.
case, you have done your background research, you have talked to people, you have networked, you have tried to find out like, are you the right fit for the course as the course is the right fit for you? So you have done it both
Mm.
ways. And also, you have got a lot of experience. So that actually counts and you can carry it forward. So you have done a good understanding about the whole situation and then migrated. So that is one thing that most of the people try not to do, and they are just in a hurry to move to another country. But this is the most
Yeah.
important step that I keep on emphasizing on my channel. So you said
Yeah.
about the financial aspect. You talked about the country as a whole. So could you briefly summarize the college, finding the college, the visa application, were there any scholarships that were given to you? So the whole briefly, very briefly about it, because it's going to be
Yeah.
like a months and years long process, and I'm asking you to summarize it. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And it's a very, honestly, before, for the lack of a better word, it's a very daunting process to apply for a visa and all this, because for the longest time I was on the other end of it, just thinking and contemplating, should I even start this? Because it requires, honestly, a lot of time and investment from your end. But once you start, I think research is very important. And you can take help of counselors. There are a lot of counselors that help out with no charge. And but no matter how many counselors help you, I think I always stress that your research is primary. It's important. You should know what you're preparing and going with. And with respect to visa application, if you're applying from India, then it's advice that you apply at least 3 months in advance, because it takes almost a month for your application to come through for Ireland. And it involves with, you starting to get a police clearance certificate from India, and then you take an appointment at the visa center. So that involves getting your photographs done and preparing your documents, which are your financials. I always advise to keep it a very clear financial statement, because these are documents that they receive hundreds of applications, and your application will move swiftly ahead if your financials are in order and they're not very complicated. If you are taking loan from somewhere, then you have to mention all those details. If you're financing yourself, you have to mention all that. And then a letter from your college is important, stating that you're a student who will be traveling from India to Ireland. And also your these days COVID certificate is important, so that all your healthcare checks are done. Your medical insurance is another thing that's important. So these are a few documents that are given at the visa application website, VFS Global. It's given in a particular order, and as long as your documents are all arranged in that order, you're reaching the visa center on time, you're presenting all the documents, your biometric, I think there's absolutely no reason for anybody's application to get rejected. Mostly the reason that it gets rejected is either your financials, or maybe your letter that you're providing of reason is not solid. So your letter needs to really mention, motivation letter, that why are you planning to come and study for this course, why this country, why this course, and how will this help you in your career. And again, financials need to be really, keep stressing this, financials need to be really clear. And yeah, so that's pretty much the visa application. I think when someone's applying, it's just about how organized your documents are. I think that's the key. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So my next question is about, like, you are there as an international student in Ireland University. So how has your experience been? And also, what is the Ireland life in general? So I'm very curious to know about that. So is there
Yeah.
any Indian community available? And also, what are your post-study, like after work and after studies or celebrations? Where do you meet up? How does the
Yeah.
party look like? So everything about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ireland is a very, especially because I've mostly lived in Dublin in Ireland. It's a very welcoming country. The people are really sweet, and they're always ready to help you. They're very polite. So I think that shapes up major part of an international student's experience, because you're traveling outside of your home country. You really don't know how other things function. And if you have nice people around you, you have a nice community, it really helps. And Dublin is a place where you will find a lot of Indians. So you will never feel that, there's lack of Indians or lack of Indian restaurants. You will have Indian eateries, grocery stores, everything is there. Friendly people, great environment. And Ireland is a place where you have a mix of beaches and hiking and mountain spots. So if
Yeah.
you're someone who loves nature, yeah, Ireland and Dublin is the place to be. It's beautiful, it's greenery all year round. It's also raining all year round, which can be a bit of a pain. But I think if you're a person who loves to travel, and I'm sure everybody, when you step out of your home country, you should not just, study, but also leverage the opportunity to move around. So it's a great space for hiking. There are great spots. There are great spaces for swimming, especially during the summer months. And lovely places. There are places like Bray, Howth. These are areas around Dublin. And then you have different counties like Limerick, Cork. So great places. The nightlife is amazing. Friday, Saturday night, everybody decides to meet in the city center, and that's where the nightlife really shines. So I think it is a great blend of nightlife, of daytime, of hiking and everything. They have a lot of activities as well. So, you've got your yoga and skiing and all those things are pretty much present. And as a student in Ireland, I think everything is very subsidized. So you get this bus card made, which is basically called a lead card that is used for all public transport. So it's bus, it's your tram, it's luas, everything. And it's so subsidized for students that honestly, it barely feels like, you're you can move around and it's just super subsidized. Even groceries, buying groceries. So there's Lidl and Tesco, which students mainly use, and everything is quite subsidized for students. You have discounts at shops, you have discounts on shoes, cosmetics. So being a student, I think, is really great in Ireland.
Mhm.
You're welcomed. You get all that, I would say, attention as a student. And while you're in college, you're also encouraged to pursue more courses, masters, and everything, because there's so many incentives and scholarships that I think it's a great opportunity for that. Yeah.
Oh wow, it sounds
Yeah.
lots of fun with also about the nature.
Yeah.
I've seen lots of pictures about Ireland, and I'm so sure
Yeah.
that you must have had lots of fun during the summers. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much
absolutely.
for sharing that. So my next question is like when you were sharing all the positive side of Ireland, I also wanted to check if you have experienced not so positive things, not the negatives, but not so positive,
Yeah.
but you would want the others who are coming to Ireland to know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you need to be careful about a few things. Definitely, not everything is all, I would say, green and happy and going wherever you go. So, in terms of, I would say, the job market, if you're coming for a certain course, be sure your research is tight. Of course, your research can never be 100%. There are ups and downs. So, I would say housing crisis is a major concern. It's very difficult to find a place to stay here. When you're coming as a student, you still will be able to find a student accommodation or a college accommodation, and your college will be able to help you out. But once you're not a student, it becomes very difficult to find a place because the rent is very high, and that's why it's always advised that you try to find a place many months in advance before you're moving out. There are a lot of scamsters when it comes to renting, so I think housing is a major crisis. Besides that, when it comes to your education and applying for jobs, I think it's a mixed response we'll get from everyone. So people within a same course, such as an IT course or a healthcare course, certain people might get placed instantly, while a lot of people may also face issues for months at end. I think that's very situation based, year based. If there's a year of recession or if there is like the COVID months were there, so it's quite subjective. That doesn't I don't really mean to say rule out Ireland or any other country because of what you hear sitting at your home country. I think there's struggle everywhere. It's just how proactive you are. You need to really build your LinkedIn network, no matter what course you're in, no matter. I honestly don't advise students to just come to another country and sit and passively and do nothing. You have to move out. You have to network. You never know where a job opportunity comes up from. And if you're just sitting at home and just studying, I think that doesn't help. You need that blend of going out. But in terms of like downside of Ireland, I'd say housing is a major crisis.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I think I've also heard about it, and that's one of the reasons why I have asked you at that question about like finding
yeah,
accommodation. Is it
yeah,
easier? And also, you talked about the full finding the full-time job. How easy is it to find a part-time job while you're studying? Because
yeah.
it is important. You have to keep yourself, like you have to meet the expenses when you're there as a student. So how
Yeah.
easy is it to find a part-time?
Absolutely. And since I was working in India for like 5, 6 years, I don't think I could just sit and study. I needed another thing to sort of make money, and especially in another country when it's a different currency and it's quite different from the Indian currency. So you need to be making some sort of a money. Not to say that it's compulsory. Everybody has to understand that if you have an intense course and if you are not able to manage both things, that your priority should be your academics. But if you can, then there are two kinds of part time that people look for. One is, say, working in a cafe or a restaurant, which is easily available. You just have to walk into a cafe restaurant, and there are a lot of such places near the place you're staying. So they always need someone to help out. That's a fairly easy way to find a part time job. And if you're trying to look for a job within your sector, within healthcare, within IT, within communications, it's all about networking. So I reached out to a lot of companies in the second month of when I was in Ireland just to sort of make those connect. And when it was time that I thought, okay, now I'm settled in 2 months into the country, I want to start working. I reached out to a few companies saying that if you need any kind of a student, I would say intern or someone to assist you. And that's where I received not a lot of responses. To be honest, I received a few responses, but at the end of the day, you just need that one job.
Mm.
And I did get placed 6 months after I was into the country and placed as in like a part-time job with an organization within the sector that I'm working in, and I'm working with them till date. So I would not, categorize whether it's easy or hard. Number one, it's a choice whether you want to do a part-time or not, or you just want to wait till you're done with academics to fully then get into a full-time job. And if you're getting into a part-time, you need to know how to balance the two things. It can get quite intense at times because certain part-times, like working in a cafe or restaurant, require that you're there present in person. And then
Yeah.
that means that you come home late and you have to study and manage all that. But my part-time was fully remote,
Mhm.
90% remote, I would say. I had to go into the office 2 times a month. And that was helpful for me because I was able to manage both my academics and the work while staying at home. So it's just about the choice you make and also how important you connect with people on LinkedIn. You can also avail the services of your university or career services, which, just speak to them and see if they have any open opportunities. And
Mhm.
I'm sure they're also, they help you out with that. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So you said
Yeah.
that you're working part-time in your own sector that you were working previously. So I think this
Yeah.
question is more timely to ask you. So how is the work culture that you have worked both in Ireland as well as India? So what is the difference
Yeah.
that you feel, and are there positives or some not so negatives? Yeah, not so
Yeah.
positives. Yeah.
Definitely, work-life balance is much better in Ireland. There is, if they say that you start your work at 9 and end at 6, it's exactly how it happens. Of course, there are days when you have to put in a little more time in, but that's just with any profession. But I think largely, overall, it is quite like a good work-life balance. Also, a really good thing I've enjoyed that they have a lot of bank holidays in Ireland. So every Monday it's just every second or third Monday it's off, and mentally people just, they're like on a Friday, okay, there's a long weekend coming up, so we're just now going to shut shop at like 4 p.m. or something. And I've enjoyed that quite a lot. But it's also a little annoying when you're when you're applying for interviews and for like months and then it doesn't convert anything because a lot of people are on annual leaves. So July and August are particularly very slow months. If somebody is looking for a job at this time, you should not expect to hear at least 2 months it takes for somebody's job to get converted simply because someone or the other person is on annual leave. And so yeah, so Irish people really love to enjoy their summers. And if
Oh, wow.
this is the time when they yeah, and this is the time they actually just want to stay at home and or go out somewhere, but they're definitely not working, which is great if you're part of the work cycle. So yeah, I think great work-life balance. And in terms of work ethics, yes, quite disciplined. They also know when to enjoy. I mean, we have I've worked with people in Dublin. I've also worked with people in the UK because being a remote job, you have clients from everywhere. And I think it's been quite interesting to work with different people, especially when you're working in the Indian market and you mostly work with Indian clients. It's a great eye opener to see how other people function.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why I decided to, go abroad is to open, sort of just my thinking and not limited to just one country. And I
Yeah.
think it's pretty much on track. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. The global experience is actually hitting on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to ask about Ireland is, how open and how welcoming is it to settlement? How we can convert from being an international student to getting the Irish passport? So is that a
Yeah.
possibility that we can think of as an international student?
Honestly, I think it's great potential in that area because again, Ireland, Dublin is a quite a welcoming country, and but it also depends on your field. So once you're a student and you first come to Ireland to pursue 1 year masters, because all the masters are mostly for a year. After that, you apply for. So you currently, as a student, you come on stamp two, and then you have to apply for the next stamp, which is either stamp 1G or it's stamp one. So stamp one is known as the critical stamp, which is given for people in the critical skills area, which is IT, healthcare, and others. And the other one is stamp 1G, which is known as like a graduate visa. So it depends on your area, and it also depends whether the company that you're joining is ready to sponsor you or not. So for the first 2 years after you graduate, you can sponsor yourself as a student. And again, the first year is considered the one that you've just come out of university. So you're not even when you're applying for that stamp, they don't really need to see any employment letter. It's simply this 1 year renewal that they want to see that, okay, you're ready to start looking for jobs. And then after, if you get a job in that period of time, great. If you do not, then there's another year that you're given. So, it's quite a smooth process where in the second year, they just want to see that you're making efforts to find a job, but you haven't landed one. So it's okay. And after that, there are next level of stamps. So, the journey to get an Irish passport is, I would say, fairly a long one. I think about 4 to 5 years, if I'm not wrong. But the process depends on your area of interest. It depends on the industry you're part of, whether you get working with an employer who's open to sponsoring you. And these are all variable factors. And yeah, I think it genuinely depends on how much effort you're putting in, but also it depends on the industry. The most important is the industry you're in. So I think it's for IT, for finance, for healthcare. These are good fields to be a part of when you're in India and you're applying for courses here, because these are fields that are considered critical skills. There's a shortage of labor in Ireland there, and companies are very open to sponsoring these areas. But there are other courses which initially they may not be open to sponsoring. But since it's just been a year for me in Ireland, so I haven't really stepped into that space. I don't have an experience of working towards an Irish passport, but I've heard from friends that it's all about like timing and the work you put in and the companies you're with. So it's
Oh,
quite a
that's
variable
amazing.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's very quite interesting one, and it is also similar to what I experienced in the UK as well. So it's a similar
Mm.
process, like what you say as stamp one, it's UK type two here, as well as
Mm.
1G is as the graduate visa. So it's the same
Yeah.
thing, and it almost takes like 6 years, 5 years. You have to stay in a type two, and then move to
Yeah.
the sixth year to become a citizen. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that, and also it is a
Right.
very I think a very happy news for our viewers, because if they're trying to move to Ireland, they also want to see if there are chances to get settled in that country.
Yeah.
So, is there any other tips and advices that you would give in general for anyone planning to move to Ireland in the coming years?
Yeah. I think Ireland as a country, if you're moving from another country, it's a great place to be. You have everything that you need in terms of facilities around you, groceries, a place to travel, a place to stay. The weather is great. Of course, it's definitely way more colder than that it's in India. But as a student and as someone who wants to settle there, I think it's a great place. But it's all about, I think, research for your own field. So if you're coming as a student, then it's really important that you know a lot of things in the near future. You know what to expect. And again, you cannot expect a very pretty picture all the time. There are ups and downs. You have to deal with it. It does get lonely a lot of times because you're away from home, you're away from family. But you also get to make new friends, the plus point. And if you're coming as a student, you get a chance to be part of a lot of societies. I would vouch for Dublin City University being a place where we have over 100 clubs and societies. So you will find your calling. And even if you don't find a society, they always give you an option of creating one. So it's a great space to be. I got a chance to be the student ambassador for both DCU and for education in Ireland, which also allowed me to go to different symposiums, to different counties and represent DCU, talk about how it's been there. So I think that's a great way of meeting people. I've met people from France, I've met people from different parts of the world who came to Ireland to talk about these things, and it just honestly made me so happy, and just to have that global exposure. So I think it is definitely an experience of a lifetime, but there are ups and downs, and you have to be ready for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that your that those two of becoming the ambassadors for your university as well as for the education in Ireland. I feel that those are two key accomplishments, and also it's come to you because of you being proactive and also
Yeah.
networking with people, and such a great accomplishment that you have become the face of the international students in that country.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. So happy for you. I'm very proud of you actually.
Thank you.
So, so the final question is, how are you enjoying your life in general in Ireland as well as what you do in Ireland? So how happy are you about it?
Yeah, so again, like I just said, I wouldn't honestly trade this experience for anything. I've had my share of, extreme lows where I've like certain Indian festivals like Diwali when you're away from home and you see everybody back home enjoying, and you do miss that. I've missed a lot of weddings of my friends. It's just that the year I decided to move outside India, my friends decided to get married. And I have missed out on those. I've felt that FOMO, but when I look back at where I am right now and my experiences, I honestly wouldn't trade this for anything. It was a gamble to leave my job in India and, decide to study. So, leave something that was paying you to then paying for something. But again, wouldn't trade it because it's taught me so many things. I've learned so many, I would say, different ways of living and different people, different cultures, celebrated things and events that I never thought I would. Just academically became strong, but also in terms of life experiences and getting a chance to travel across the world alone, solo traveling. These are things, honestly, I wouldn't trade for anything.
Oh,
So, yes, definitely would encourage everybody to, if they do have plans to study abroad, to not be scared with all the preparation there is, because it's quite a challenging time when you have to make those applications, and especially when you're applying for scholarships. But once you're on the other end, you'll realize that it was all worth it.
oh yeah. Oh, I like it how you put all of those thoughts together. Love it.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, ask more questions, personal questions, how can they do that?
Yeah. So I'm available on LinkedIn, and by my name Neha Chandra, and I also have an Instagram handle called Cannot Sit at Home, which is literally how I feel. That I honestly cannot just stay at one place. If you stay,
Yeah.
you're missing out on a lot of things. And I do post a lot of information content about DCU, about education in Ireland, Dublin, and accommodation is one of the things that I've spoken about. So these are all topics that I've covered on that page. Quite a useful resource for people to just go in and see, because I get a lot of queries on Instagram. So I just decided to make content to serve that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I would also check out your Instagram handle. And for my viewers, I'm going to put the links in the description box. So thank you so much. You're such an angel and very kind. You have shared all the details
Thank
about
you.
moving to Ireland. And I have also got a lot of idea. And also
Yeah.
in my coming videos as well, I would try to include more about Ireland. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a great success in your dissertation.
Thank
And
you.
also you find lots of success in your stay during in the Ireland. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.